Interim report on constitution hotly debated in Parliament for second day. Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake speaks out on removal from UNP organiser posts. Phase 2 of Jana Asuna, I Am the Future campaign gets underway in Rajangana, Anuradhapura. Progress on campaign promises examines.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shrin Silva.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Let's now take a look at the stories in detail. Sri Lanka's newly appointed Navy Commander Vice Admiral Sirimawan Ranasinghe called on President Maithripala Sirisena this morning. Vice Admiral Ranasinghe officially met the President since assuming duties as the Commander of the Sri Lanka Navy at the Presidential Secretariat. During the meeting, the Commander also presented a memento to the President.
Moving on to a story that made the headlines tonight now, former United National Party organizer of the Dulapitiya electorate, Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake, said he was removed from the post of organizer because of his stance against endorsing illegal rackets.
Large-scale rackets of clay and gravel in Dulapitiya had caused massive destruction. I visited areas like Akaragama, Kotadeniyawa, Ramutanwatta and Peelavatta and spoke about these environmental issues and took measures to bring those responsible before the law. This caused racketeers involved and certain politicians and Pradesh Sabha members to lose their income. They constantly complained to Sirikota and the party that this cannot be done as long as I am there. This was incident number 1. Secretary Minister Kabir Hashim then spoke to me and said, there is an issue like this, what should we do? I asked, what is the allegation against me? He said the allegation is that you are too clean. I said I do not understand. He said when sand, clay and gravel are seized, the people there expect the police to be called to resolve the situation. I said, well, I cannot do that. I spoke to the party chairman, Minister Malik Samaravikrama this morning, and he said there has been a small misunderstanding, but that I would be made Gampaha district organizer in Parliament tomorrow. I do not know what you call part politics. Part politics is when a lorry transporting cattle gets caught or when you are caught riding without a helmet, the police has to be called to save you. Well, I cannot help anyone for illegal acts. Even if I go home without bail or lose an election, I cannot do that. Neither will I change my party. I can easily go back to my old profession, which is cinema, but I cannot do anything illegal.
Phase 2 of Jana Asuna, I Am the Future campaign was held in Rajangana today. Jana Asuna provides the public a stage to express their ideas and give voice to their concerns. Jana Asuna got underway at the Rajangana Junction this afternoon. Political parties and MPs elected by the people's mandate constantly place their own opinion upon the public. But the people do not have a platform for themselves to express their opinion. A platform for this has been set up by Jana Asuna.
Next year it will be 70 years since we gained independence in 1948. And what do we have left? A mountain of debt worth 10 trillion rupees. How do we repay it? There are fields on either side of these roads which have not yielded a harvest in 4 seasons. There is no place to divert the silt in the tanks. When it rains, the tanks overflow, causing villages to flood. People are displaced and relocated to camps. After a couple gets married, they wait for a child. 70 years ago, during the political struggle, they got married, and now we are still waiting for a child. If there is anyone who truly loves and cares for you, direct all your strength to that person. Elect that person into Parliament as an independent candidate. Or else, just as it has happened over the past 70 years, you will only be fooled again. Do not vote for anyone who has been around thus far.
We have passed the era where women cannot take part in politics. They will sling mud at you, pull you down, and no matter what they say to tarnish your reputation, if you have the concern towards the people, we invite you on this journey. It may be independently or political party, but it should come from the bottom of your heart.
We cannot distribute items to you, let alone a packet of milk to empower you, just for coming here. What we can give you is the knowledge. You see jewelry around the neck of even a single elderly woman here. Do not be ashamed. It is a jewelry which should be around your neck and your earrings, which are being worn by the rulers today.
මේක තේරුම් ගන්න. ජනාසුන රාජාංගණයට ගෙනාවේ
Jana Asuna was brought to Rajanganaya, not for anything else, but to help you elect your representative for Rajanganaya in the upcoming local government election. But after they are elected, tell them to watch out if they do not do the work. Come January, there will be an election. Hand over a list of independent candidates. We will help you.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry will have a special sitting on the 2nd of November, which is on Thursday this week. Newsfirst.lk joins us now from the newsroom with some of the key revelations that were made at the Presidential Commission.
The first reported controversial bond auction took place on the 27th of February 2015. The second was on the 29th of March 2016. After the first controversial bond issue, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe appointed a 3-member committee known as the Pitipana Committee to investigate this bond issue. As public outcry continued, 2 COPE investigations were launched. The first COPE could not release its report because Parliament was adjourned, and there was controversy surrounding the second as the footnotes attached to it raised more questions. Thereafter, in February this year, President Maithripala Sirisena appointed the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to inquire into the bond issue as public outcry continued. Tonight, we take a look at 13 key revelations that were made at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Number 1, the central bank employees who testified before the Presidential Commission said that former Governor Arjuna Mahendran visited the Public Debt Department twice and first instructed them to accept all 20 billion rupees in bids, and thereafter instructed them to accept 10.058 billion rupees in bids. This is on the 27th of February 2015. Number 2, the Attorney General's Department termed Perpetual Treasuries Limited as a criminal organization. One of the reasons was that Perpetual Treasuries Limited used other dealers as intermediaries, such as Pan Asia Banking Corporation and the FCC, to sell bonds that they had purchased in the primary market to the Employees Provident Fund and the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation. Number 3, Perpetual Treasuries Limited also used companies affiliated to them, such as W.M. Mendes and Company Limited, to push up the price of the bonds that they had purchased and thereafter sell them off to the captive sources. The Attorney General's Department also pointed out that Perpetual Treasuries Limited created a network of dealers from several institutions to ensure that their predetermined transactions went on smoothly. It was also highlighted that PTL bribed heavily the informants that gave them market-sensitive and price-sensitive information. Then comes the all-important Monarch Residency apartment of former Minister Ravi Karunanayake. The witness who testified at the Presidential Commission said that the lease was paid for this apartment by Walt and Rowe Associates, which is owned by Arjun Aloysius. However, when Ravi Karunanayake was questioned about it, he said he was not aware because the purchase and the lease of this apartment was done by his family. Before the 29th of March 2016 and 31st of March 2016 auctions, former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake had summoned the heads of the state banks and instructed them to bid low at those auctions. The Attorney General's Department pointed out there is a phone call obtained from the PTL recording system where Arjun Aloysius says that he has information that the state banks are going to bid low at those auctions. It must also be mentioned that for the first time, the Criminal Investigations Department conducted a digital forensic investigation onto the mobile devices that were secured from Arjun Aloysius, Arjuna Mahendran, as well as Steve Samuel, the personal assistant to Arjun Aloysius. Now, these extracted material revealed startling information, including files that were maintained under the headings AM and RK. 2 powerful ministers from the government, Kabir Hashim and Malik Samaravikrama, testified before the Commission. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was sent a questionnaire by the Commission and he has responded to it. We not only do not know the Prime Minister's answers, we don't even know what the questions were. The Presidential Commission will have a special sitting on Thursday, where we believe more vital information will be revealed.
More news after this short commercial break. Back to the news. People living in the north requested the President's house built in Kankasanture during the previous government be utilized by the people living in the area. However, this has not happened and the building has been left empty.
The President's house in Kankasanture in Jaffna has been constructed on a 100-acre plot of land. The building comprises of 20 rooms, a conference hall and 2 swimming pools. The construction of the building was done by the Sri Lanka Navy at a cost of 2.5 billion rupees. A resolution was passed on the Northern Provincial Council last year that the building be provided for the use of the Northern Provincial Council. Both President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe inspected the building in March 2015. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa issuing a release on the 5th of March 2015 says that this construction is not a presidential house and that it is an international relations centre. The release says that this construction was carried out using funds of the Presidential Secretariat so that it can accommodate international delegates visiting the north and east. The release further states the Cabinet of Ministers approved this construction. The building remains redundant.
Joining us on the Newsline program, national organizer of the National Freedom Front, P.S. Vijayanayaka, challenged the party leadership.
There is still a chance to submit a letter to the Parliament and give Vimal Weerawangsa the opportunity to make his final speech on his final day and reveal the truth. I invite him to do that. If this does not work out, we will have to convey the message to the general public. Even Lord Buddha has preached that one has to first explain, and if it does not work, to punish them.
Moving on to other local stories in your primetime news bulletin, the proposals made in the interim report on the new constitution was debated in Parliament for its second day today.
The general public has clearly expressed their views on a new constitution. The best proposals were made by the 7 provincial chief ministers of the southern half of the country. They are members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
මගේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට මම ඔබතුමාලාට ඉන්ටරප්ට් කරන්න මම කතාව ඉවරලා වෙලාව තිබ්බොත් මම උත්තර දෙන්න. No, I am not. අවුරුදු 30ක්.
They have had a 30-year experience. They are not against national policies, but they only wanted to be involved in the process of formulating national policies at provincial councils. But they urged for the powers of the provincial council not to be retaken under the guise of formulating national policies.
වාඩි වෙන්න කරුණා කරලා ඔබතුමා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ගිනි තියන්නත් කිව්වා කතා කිරීමේ අයිතියක් තියෙනවා කතා නැහැ තමයි වාඩි වෙන්න නීති හැදීමේ බලය පළාත් සභා විෂයන් පිළිබඳ නීති හැදීමේ බලය එසේම පවතිනවා ඉතාමත්ම පැහැදිලි එහි කිසිම වෙනසක් නැහැ දැන් මේ යෝජනාවක්.
A proposal has just come into Parliament. This is not the constitution. It is just an interim report compiled by the steering committee. Therefore, it is difficult for us to understand as to why there are objections to this. When the 13th Amendment was brought to Parliament, when provincial councils were established in 1987, it was said the country was being divided. The question we ask is, did the country actually get divided? Constitutions cannot be made with just being limited to words. There is no hidden agenda to this. Talk surrounding the draft has already become a Trojan horse. A Trojan horse is a destruction in disguise. So do not push this to that point. MP Dallas Alahoperama, who questions if the country actually needs a new constitution, is the same person who was an active member of the White Lotus movement in 1995 and went around the country from village to village saying the country needs a new constitution. I will give you just one piece of advice. You have done your politics for 20 years with smooth words, but I request you not to use smooth words to run away from an issue concerning this era. I think MP Vimal Weerawangsa was the only MP who rejected the Constitutional Assembly. But the same person who rejected the Constitutional Assembly was seen at its canteen today eating the Constitutional Assembly's food. Back then, it was MP Dallas and I, as well as Minister Mangala Samaravira, who travelled across the country with the White Lotus movement for a united country which does not have the word unitary nor the clause on Buddhism which exists today. But today, this document contains the word unitary and the clause on Buddhism. The TNA today has expressed their consent to the word unitary. Include the word unitary in Sinhalese, Tamil and English. Is it not good? Let's come to a common ground to a certain extent. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party likes to devolve power. They like to devolve power more only increase because of people who carry out bombings. If we are doing politics and if they are calling for this place to be bombed, we have to defeat their ideals. Even though the war ended, we have not identified and found solutions for the true reasons for the war to be created in the first place. Decisions were taken by inciting racism for the sake of power. MP Douglas Devananda, who is seated to my right, is a person who was pushed to the point of taking up arms in 1972. These were the laws put in place back then. There were factors driven to these issues. Immediate measures have to be taken to rectify the mistakes committed in the past.
Yesterday, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe boasted about the achievements of the current UNP-led National Unity Government. We now join Newsfirst Faraz Chowgatali and Chaturanga Hapuarachi for a progress report on how the government is performing on the promises made to the people during the run-up to the 2015 general election.
Yesterday, we saw key members of the United National Party coming before the media and saying what they have been able to achieve. We saw the Prime Minister, the leader of the United National Party coming there, the General Secretary of the UNP, Minister Kabir Hashim, and even the Chairman of the United National Party, Minister Malik Samaravikrama, telling us what they have been able to achieve in the tenure of this government. But if you take a look at key promises made by the UNP in the run-up to the general election back in the day, back in 2015, have they been able to deliver what they promised to the people? With me is Faraz Chowgatali. We are going to give a score to the government or the UNP for what they have been able to achieve. Faraz, if you take a look at 77 tasks that the government has put forward or the UNP has put forward back in the day, they have only been able to complete 11 out of these 77 tasks.
But Chaturanga, you say that 11 are complete. Are these of national importance?
We'll take a look at few of these promises that they have made for us. I have here with me one, reform the fisheries governance system and get the EU fisheries export ban lifted, ensuring that Sri Lanka is eligible for GSP plus tax concessions. That is done.
Whilst it's acknowledged that it's been done, we must also bear in mind that the conditions to give us GSP plus has many other matters that this government have yet to deliver upon.
One more point that they have been able to deliver is the extension, or rather extend the benefits of the Agrahara Public Officials Insurance Scheme to retired civil servants.
Well, that's done.
That is done. Then for us, introduction of new legislation to increase the salary of private sector employees.
That's done too. The establishment of an independent commission to replace the present commission to investigate bribery or corruption.
That is done too for us.
Yes, but are they doing their job properly? There are several cases before the bribery commission that have not even been apparently looked into, and the progress can be at best described as ultra slow. Let's take a look at a few things that the government has promised and have failed to do. The establishment of an unemployment insurance benefit scheme for recently unemployed workers.
That is not done for us.
Providing loan facilities up to 500,000 rupees to small-scale investors interested in investing in the stock exchange.
Once again, not done. Providing a financial assistance to preschool teachers through a fund established by the World Bank aid.
That's not been done.
That's not done. Then the Audit Act for us. This was a key promise of this government because they promised transparency, promised good governance. Where is the Audit Act now?
Well, it's somewhere up there because they've discussed it about 25 or 26 times, and the question is whether this will ever come to life. None of this has been done up to date, Chaturanga. Yes, the matters regarding the audit bill has been debated and things look like it is progressing, but will it really see life and will it really come through?
It was discussed for us for about 25 times. We know several times it was taken up in Parliament, several times it went in for cabinet approval, but up to date we don't have the audit bill, or the audit act rather. But for us, if you look at one thing that they have done is the establishment of 20 oversight committees in Parliament.
But what are they for? What's the point? What are they doing? These are the mere appointment of heads. We'd like to know what they're really doing. What is their contribution that could be described as being of national importance? And they agreed to have a code of conduct for members of Parliament, and that has been extremely slow in the making. And judging by the abysmal behavior of our members of Parliament on several occasions disrupting the services there, it's criminal that this hasn't been done as yet. However, matters such as the introduction of a new constitution is on track. And it is clear that matters that are easy for them to do and that are politically expedient for this government to carry out, they've done it quick as a flash.
But for us, when you look at things, they have been able to establish a Christian Affairs Ministry. So establishing a ministry is not something that is very easy.
Of course it's easy. What is it? What do you have to do? You have to appoint a minister and the officials and find a building to house them in and pay extortionate rents, and sometimes pay the rent and not occupy the building. They also said that they have also established a sports complex that complied with international standards. What do you think about that?
That's a good thing for the country.
Absolutely. Is it, though, of prime national importance? It has been 809 days since this government came into power after providing these promises, and it is an abysmal record that they have only completed 22. Well, they haven't really completed 22. 11 completed, 11 work in progress.
So what's the final score for us?
The final score is, if we are being generous and with cold neutrality, if we consider everything, their score is 28.
28%.
You know that that's a fail mark.
For us, the picture that we saw yesterday of the three ministers.
Yes, now that picture is very interesting, because these are the top three in the United National Party. Two of them have already been before the Commission of Inquiry into the bonds, and one of them is hopefully going to be summoned again. We don't know, but we hope that he is.
There you have it. Thank you very much. That's the final score we can give to the United National Party. It's back to the studio.
Thank you, Chaturanga. And with that, we go in for a short commercial break. On the other side is international news.
අපේ පාසලේ ළමයි කියවා ඉගෙන ගන්න ගොඩක් ආසයි. ඒත් පුස්තකාලයක් නැහැ. තියෙන්නේ පොත් තිබෙන කබඩ් එකක් පමණයි.
This was the plea that was made to us by a little girl about a month ago from the Matugama area. Today, the Government, the 1000 program, was able to answer the plea of this child and other children, enabling them to see the world through the wonders of reading. The laying of the foundation for a school library building in the Matugama Ittapana area took place today.
The first steps of providing the Matugama Ittapana Sri Saranankara Preparatory School with a complete library took place this morning. The sponsors of this project are a Korean couple who reside in Sri Lanka.
ඉදිරියේදී රැක බලා ගනිමින් දැනුම පෝෂණය කර ගැනීම අප සතු වගකීම වේ. සිරස නිවුස්ප්‍රස් ආයතනයෙන් පැමිණි නැන්දලා මාමලා අප පාසල වෙනුවෙන් මෙවැනි කාර්යයන් කිරීමට ශක්තිය ධෛර්යය ලැබේවායි ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමු.
අපි වුණ කස්සුවපු ලක්තේ දුප්පත් අය වෙනුවෙන් අපිට පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණයෙන් උදව් කරන්න හිතාගත්තා. පොඩි මුදල්ක් වුණා සිරස කම්මැත්ත වෙද සතහන හරහා ඔබට පරිත්‍යාග කරනවා.
Several entertainment acts by the children added color to the event. We are not poor, it is just that our kids are very keen. We should give strength to that keenness and enthusiasm. Therefore, I would like to inform the Sirasa government, the initiative and the sponsors of this project that we will remember them with much respect.
Earlier, we looked at the progress being made on election promises back in 2015. Following the news on BizFirst in Focus, Janine Fernando, Head of Politics Research at Verity Research, discusses tracking election promises made by the Good Governance government.
We leave you tonight with cartoonist Asan Kaladua Hetti's take on today's news.
I'm Azra Hassan.
And I'm Shane Silva. Good night.